Welcome to the Short Funk Podcast. I'm Tom Barbalet. Today, the General Art of Rap discussion part 2. Part 1 went a little long, it was a little rambling, it was associated with very specific things. I wanted to cover 2 issues in part 2. The first issue was that we had a 21-year-old woman and her 17-year-old sister sitting in front of us at the concert. The 21-year-old got up and danced at various times. She kind of blocked my view. It didn't really matter, because I was kind of enjoying the music anyway, and when I wanted to actively see the performance or take photographs, I'd stand up and watch. What it gave my wife and I first-hand access to was the experience of these girls, this, woman and her sister, at this concert. They were continuously being hit on by men, typically drunk men. And in a couple of occasions, guys who seemed genuinely, unhinged and deranged. The elder sister, thankfully, was very assertive and aggressive and was able to get rid of the guys, and the younger sister really wasn't having any of it. But to see this kind of constant harassment and just constant, they couldn't actually be there and enjoy the concert for any length of time before some drunk guy came over and, hugged them or, tried to get their numbers or what have you. By the end of the evening, a pair of lesbians who had actually been arguing behind us associated with their maneuver on these girls managed to actually split them apart. And one of the more aggressive lesbians who'd actually fought for this right out of the two was able to get the younger sister's Facebook details. I went there to see musicians perform, but I was genuinely stunned at the experience that these two women had, and actually genuinely saddened that they couldn't just be there to enjoy the music. It turned out the younger sister was only really a Bone Thugs and Harmony fan, and after that they just cleared out. In fact, the lesbians kind of specifically made their move just before Bone Thugs and Harmony came on. And it was interesting, actually, I didn't hear a lot of this. My wife was listening to more of this and picked up on a lot more, how old they were and all this other stuff. There was a guy who wore a Paddington Bear hat, which is a kind of floppy hat intended for women most of the time. And this guy was genuinely deranged and basically spent about an hour and a half just periodically harassing these women, walking up to them, staring at them, pulling faces at them. It came basically in between me and them at certain circumstances, kind of waving his hands in front of my face. Just generally nasty circumstances. And I really felt for these women that this was just horrible. Another thing that I have to talk about, because it is my standard practice following the Grateful Dead, was the kind of weed that was smoked at this particular festival. There was considerably more what I would consider medicinal cannabis smoked at this festival. There were more kind of skunk strains. There was a strange kind of grapey smelling weed that was being circulated. My wife pointed out that this could also be grape flavored, tobacco, blunt papers or what have you. But yeah, just considerably more sedative and certainly not as experimental or as old school as the stuff that was being smoked at the Grateful Dead concert. There were people actually smoking cigarettes, which I found rather strange. My wife pointed out that you weren't allowed to smoke cigarettes at the Levi Stadium where the Grateful Dead performed. But I just thought this was very curious, people actually sitting down smoking cigarettes at a concert. Clearly cannabis is consumed both with, Deadheads and at rap festivals. But yeah, just a distinctly different kind of weed, and obviously distinctly different interests behind the weed. Tom Barbalet in San Jose, signing out.